Have I had a case like this before? Yeah, I absolutely have. And it was a super weird one that disturbs me even to this day. You've been asked to gather evidence of child abuse or neglect. Now, how do you go about doing that? This is an email question I got. Uh, Hi, Joshua from Tennessee. I hope you're doing great. Still watching your Tuesday videos like clockwork. Got a question, a surveillance/legal question. I know it would be dangerous to do surveillance for domestic cases, but my question is, if I'm hired by a client who needs to get proof their children are being abused, and they give me permission to go onto the property to video in case something happens and then call the police, how do I handle that? I personally would refuse. What do you say from a legal and safety standpoint? Also, have you yourself been given this type of request? Yes, I have. First of all, let me address doing surveillance on domestic cases does not necessarily have to be dangerous, any more dangerous than any other case. There's a lot that goes on there, but doing surveillance well, no one knows you're there. You're in, you're out. No one knows that that's going on. And if the fastest way to learn surveillance is through my Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Surveillance, that is a complete course from A to Z. You get everything very quickly and in one package, so you'll know how to do surveillance. What we're discussing here a little bit is more of an overt thing, I believe, but it could be done covertly either way. Now, number one, if I've been given permission by a client to go onto the property, their property, and they are the property owner, they have the right to give me that permission, and they have not revoked that permission, then I will go on the property as my good judgment dictates. I'm not going to get myself into anything that's hard or deeper than what I think. I want to be able to be safe and do the job well. And I will point out that while he asked this as a surveillance/legal question, I'm not an attorney. So from a legal point of view, I can't give you any advice there. I will say this. Be cautious when you take any kind of case like this. And if you're getting a weird vibe from the caller, from your potential client, I always advise you, and even in a more vanilla sense, even if this is kind of just everything seems fine here, I frequently would encourage a client to get an attorney and then have the attorney hire me. There's a lot of advantages in that, but the real thing is you're going to get a good perspective from now. There's your legal perspective on how the attorney wants this handled and keep you out of trouble that way. The attorney may ask you for evidence that you don't need to go on the property. And if that's the case, more power to you on that. So anytime you think the client would be okay to work for, but you're kind of like on the fence about it a little bit, have them go through an attorney, have the attorney hire you. I will also point out that this might be a better job for a guardian ad litem, for somebody to be around and in the room and that type of thing with the kids and the visitation. Have I had a case like this before? Yeah, I absolutely have. And it was a super weird one that disturbs me even to this day. And my license was not only just for private investigations, but I could also do security work as well. Now, I never did security work, but I got that double license, that higher standard of license, so that I could do things like escorting witnesses to court cases and even take a case like this. What was happening was the attorney was being at all the child custody exchanges and got tired of that and called me and wanted me to be on standby while the exchange was going on. Not necessarily to record or any kind of surveillance, anything like that. It was almost just a safety type precaution. I reluctantly took it. He really talked me into it. I did other work for this attorney, took the case, and showed up, and it was just a mess. The woman, when I arrived, was all dolled up, full makeup, dressed up way too nice for whatever this was, and had, I kid you not, a cocktail in her hand, like the classic martini glass cocktail in her hand, while she had her two young children there, one of whom was way too old to be in diapers, but was in diapers. It was just bizarre and weird from the moment I knocked on the door and went in there. I was getting a real creepy vibe from the lady.
You were a darling to help. I could never have done it without you.
So I said, I will stand by outside, and when he arrives, then I'll be back as needed. And that's what I did. It also, by the way, there's another side. This is a guy I had served process on, and that was a dicey thing, but I handled it really well in the same exact way I teach in the Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Process Serving. So this guy was not my enemy when he showed up. Had no idea I was ever going to see this guy again, but I had handled it well. Just literally, I saw him physically kind of deflate and realize I was not the threat when I was serving him process. And I'm very glad, because this cat he was big and thick dude. So I did this child custody exchange. I called the attorney. I said, never again will I do that. And then I understood why he wanted me to do it. He didn't want to do it because he was tired of doing it. He wanted to do it because it was just a super weird situation. So child abuse and neglect cases, they run the gambit. I've worked several of them, too many of them. And you can get the evidence that's needed sometimes, and for me, frequently, I found that to be surveillance, but go through the attorney so you don't gather meaningless evidence that your client thinks will help that is not really going to help the case. If you have experience with this, please feel free to share. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know. In the meantime, this is Larry Kaye with ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.